Hey everyone, this is Jason Khalipa, founder of NC Fit and Crossfit Games Champion. You're listening to the Heart Healthy Hustle podcast. Looking forward to you enjoying the episode.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the Heart Healthy Hustle show. I'm your host, Jonathan Frederick, joined today with the Jason Khalipa. Jason, say what's up to the audience.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me on.
Jason is an absolute legend in the CrossFit space, and now he is playing the game of fitness. How you go about describing yourself as, family man first, and then you kind of go down the list of, family man, business, fitness, all that, and it's all incorporated. Love it. So I'd love to hear a little bit about your day-to-day, give the audience a glimpse into what's going on for you today.
Well, today is interesting. So today I recorded some old school throwback podcasts. So what's happening is I have a podcast called Business of Fitness. That's really about just like gym owners and coaches, very specific, right? And the podcast really for me has always been about share what we have going on in our business. Never talk about hypotheticals, talk about, hey, this is what we have going on. These are the struggles we have. This is how we're solving them or whatever. And this way, you're never putting out information where you're trying to be an expert at something and you aren't actually going through it. I think that's unfair to the consumer. And so the podcast was going great for a long time, but the last couple of weeks because of COVID, I just haven't felt that inspired to go out there and talk about new business stuff because I feel like right now there's a lot of things up in the air and we're in a holding pattern until we get new information from the government. And so I don't want to go out there and just put out, information that's hypothetical. I want to wait until we get it. So instead, this morning we put out a throwback episode with Roy McKernan, who is one of the original kind of commentators at the CrossFit Games. Him and I just went, got on YouTube, started looking at old school videos and just trying to give comic relief to people right now. Just an episode that's just not very like business focused. So I started off with that, just like some fun stuff. Got on the phone with our team. We do weekly calls on a variety of different things at our company. And here I am with you. And then I'm about to go ahead to go film some content for our daily workouts that we put out, what's called NC Go or NC Fit Plus, which was our pivot from, our business had locations open to the public, corporate wellness locations, and then a digital arm. That was our business. Well, we've shifted our focus to more digital arm because all of our locations are closed. So I've been spending a lot of time on that.
Awesome. Yeah, I was just listening to your, I think it was your most recent episode of Business of Fitness, and you were talking about that pivot and how you guys have coaches and a team of people who are still actively serving your community at NC Fit and all those who are part of that. And it's pretty impressive, man. Got to say. I like the approach to it too. It's neat to pivot and just go for comedic relief with your podcast. I think that's probably going to be more well received. You know what I mean? Because it is tricky. It's tricky
for like a couple weeks, right? And then get back to, because like I said, I've always found that our business podcast I'm Jason Khalipa. I'm the owner of NC Fit. This is what we're going through. Let me share that with you. Versus like talking about opening up multiple locations if you're not even a multiple location owner. I just don't think you could speak to that,
Yeah, fair enough. Awesome. Well, hey, we usually do start out the show with a favorite success quote or just a motto that drives you on the day-to-day. Do you have anything posted up in your office, on your wall? What's your motto?
There's a few. So I wrote a book called As Many Reps as Possible, which is about the AMRAP mentality. That's something that obviously I embody, which we could talk about. But really for me, it's like, reach your potential, and I think that everybody's potential is gonna be different and it's gonna be different in different things. Some people have been blessed with, call it God-given talent in specific areas. And I think it's really important that regardless of where you've been gifted your talents at, because I believe everybody has talents somewhere. Some of them just might not be as like outwardly, right? You take someone like LeBron James, you could see his talent on the court. Whereas maybe someone like a musician, you might not be able to see it firsthand, but then as they start to develop it, they have it. And so for me, it's about reaching your potential in the different things you're focusing on. And different people have different potential in different areas based on their variety of different things. But for me, that's really important.
That's really cool, Jason. I want to jump right into, I know everything that's going on right now. I have a million questions and we have a limited amount of time today, but I did want to ask you with your business, NC Fit, What was going back years? What was the first thing you did? Did you ever start like a clothing line that failed? What are some of your early, yeah, I mean, if it was all wins, like what was your first things, cause I know you had started out, I was watching your story. You started out with a small box gym and you were like, hey, we're either going to go bankrupt or we're going to actually be able to expand at the end of this month. So can you share a little bit about even before that, where'd your hustle come from? Why are you so entrepreneurial?
Yeah, I mean, I've started a clothing company. I've done a variety of different things where we've seen some failure. I think when I started pursuing things that I didn't have any expertise in, I haven't performed as well. So, for example, you bring up a t-shirt company. I founded a t-shirt company called Faded Lifestyles with a group of friends. At the time, I didn't have any like background or history in that. I just did it because it sounded like a good idea, group of friends, it was fun. But we didn't know anything about marketing, t-shirt printing, this and that. And I think that was a really big learning experience. And so what I learned over the years is identify something you're uniquely good at and then pursue that as something. Yes, you need to have a passion for it, but you also need to be uniquely good. And whatever you're uniquely good at, spend time there. Because in business, some of the mistakes that I've made is spending too much time on things that I'm not uniquely good at. Like, how are we going to win is always a question I'm asking for our business. And I would ask anybody who's going into any business, like, what makes you uniquely good at podcasting, for example, right? Is your questions, is it your tenacity, is it whatever? Because right now it's such a crowded space in everything. For example, how are you going to differentiate yourself and actually win? And I think that gym owners need to be thinking that same way. You could be a really good coach, and if you are a really good coach, that's great, but is that going to be enough to grow to a successful business? Maybe it is, maybe you need to delegate, who knows?
So did you start as a trainer? And either way, how did you transition from being I'm going to run this gym, I'm going to train these classes, I'm going to be compete CrossFit champion? How'd you go from that to ownership mentality? I'm going to have franchise, I'm going to have gyms everywhere. How'd you go from that? How did that happen?
Oh, man, at a pretty young age, I was probably 14 or 15. The founder of this gym that I worked at the time. I started working at this gym at 15 and working the front desk. And this founder, he really taught me about business, right? His name was Joe Gigantino. He really taught me about, and even till this day, man.
How many vowels are in that last name? Was it
a lot. Gigantino.
Yeah, he's Italian for sure.
Oh, for sure. But I mean, this guy, even till this day, dude, yeah, I'll do this. So him and I were talking about some dumbbells that he's getting from China, right? And I was talking like, hey, we could really use some dumbbells, blah, blah. And he's like, all right, well, I'm going to put them at your 3PL, which is a third-party logistics company. And, I said, okay, cool. He writes back, just make sure I, be made whole. How am I going to make my money? Or like, he said something to me like, and I just looked at it, the text, and like, he's still got his hustle. The guy makes tons of money, but he still has his hustle. And so he taught me about growing a business, treating like a business, not a hobby. And
this is when you were working really at the front desk of a gym when you're younger, correct?
Yeah. And that mindset really shifted over for me many, many times because I didn't open our gym. Yes, I wanted community. Yes, I wanted, all the things that we love about gyms, right? Yeah. But I also opened it to provide for my family and provide for coaches. And so from day one, I treated it as a business. And so when doing so, if you see opportunities, you need to explore them. That's why I went from one location to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5, whatever. And he really set that mindset in me at an early age.
Was he the guy you went on the elliptical with? I was listening to your interview with Tim Ferriss from 2017, and you said you basically not asserted yourself, but you just, friendly, just kind of joined him, and it didn't bother him. You just picked his brain, right?
100%. That's right. And I think that's something that people could learn from is that I was working at the front desk and I was jumping on the elliptical with him. And what I learned...
He's a gym owner at the time.
He was, yeah. What I learned was that a lot of people, and the same thing happens to me, I don't know if you get this, but I get reached out to all the time for business advice, this and that. Yeah. But a lot of times, like, I became a little numb to it because most of the time it just falls on deaf ears and people are just looking for an easy way out. And they're asking really kind of stupid questions like, what's the number one thing to be successful in, if you owned it, like it's just something they're looking for an answer to that there isn't an answer. You need to see it. You need to hear it. You need to feel it. And that's what I learned being on the elliptical with him, is that it wasn't one thing he said, wasn't two things, wasn't five things. It was everything, the way he acted, the way he treated things. And I learned that by saying to him, hey, I want to get together and learn about business. And he would say like, oh, I don't have much time. I'd be like, oh, okay. What are you doing tonight? He'd be like, all right, I'm going to be doing cardio. And I would just go there. And sometimes I would just be riding the elliptical with him and no words would be spoken, right? No words would be spoken, just riding the elliptical. But what it was teaching me is that grit, that hustle, that tenacity is what has allowed him to build a successful business, because he's the guy, granted it's a little bit different than CrossFit, but he's the guy riding the elliptical at night, where others might not be.
100%. Yeah. That's powerful. How do you balance, life being short with living in the present? You got to prepare for the future. You got to think long-term for business, but you also have a family, you have friends. How do you balance that, so to speak?
Yeah, that's a good and tough question. It really is, because it's a really interesting dynamic, right? And your life experiences play into that, especially with COVID right now and what's going on. But for me, it was really eye-opening. Like when my daughter got leukemia, like that changed my wife and I's mentality, right? We really shifted from a super long vision to like, if we want to do something, we're going to go do it. We're going to go do it right now. And then we had to kind of tailor it back to be like, okay, what's the middle ground? Because you want to think long-term, you want to think the future, right? But at the same time, you want to celebrate and do things today. And a great example is like you're saving bottles of wine or alcohol for years and years and years and years and years. Well, you know what, man? Might as well just pop that thing open. Let's go. Because life could be short. And we learned that, the more time we spent in the hospital, the more we realized like, dude, life could be really short. And so I'd say for us, we err on the side of like, let's ride, let's do it, let's live it up. Mm-hmm. While at the same time trying to balance as much as possible to be what I would call responsible, right? Like you want to be responsible too.
Of course. Love it. So you actually, and your daughter's name is Ava, correct?
Yeah.
Awesome. Would you be willing to share her age when she was first diagnosed?
She was 4. She was about to turn 5. She was 4. It was January 2016. And she turned 9 yesterday.
It's amazing, man.
Yeah.
And you guys actually turned that, I think it was your wife, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't she create a foundation here to actually kind of turn this into a positive for the long term?
Yeah, she has something called Avas Kitchen in combination with the chef Michael Mina. And she's raised, between the two of us, we've raised, a large amount of money to help families. And it's been something we have been dedicated to, and even more so now. Right now, actually, what we're doing is really cool. So we have about, we raised 1.5 million so far. And right now there's in the account a couple $100,000. Well, we need to spend it throughout the year. There's certain guidelines and restrictions. And so we want to spend it. Of course, that's the whole point of it. And right now we can't send people to like Disneyland or restaurants, which is what we used to do, like baseball games, Disneyland, whatever, like give the family an outing. Mm-hmm. Now what we're doing is we're sending a box, and this month it's Hawaiian theme. And so all these families are going to get this box of Hawaiian theme to set up their house like Hawaii, and give them like a little, like we call it like a breakaway box, right? Where you open this box and it's a break away from what's going on. And so those are things that we do that for children and families going through pediatric cancer.
That's amazing, man. I acknowledge you guys for that. That's fantastic. What are some other ways NC Fit has been, pivoting during the COVID virus? This is a time where a lot of people who have patients or have clients who come into a facility are dealing with, if they're still open, they're dealing with less than, probably 25% of what their normal influx is. So how are you guys leveraging this opportunity?
Yeah, so we used to have, like I said, a digital arm where we put out our plans that we use in our gym to gym owners across the world, right? And we have quite a few of them. But we never really focused on the end consumer. We were focused on the gym, B2B. And now we shifted to putting out all of our programs to the end consumer. And so that's been a nice way to replenish some of the revenue that we're losing for not having the brick and mortars open to the public. And so it's called NC Fit Plus. Obviously I'm partial because we created it, but I think it's the world's best dumbbell program, without a doubt, is one of our program. And we have a variety of programs we provide every single day. We're about to roll out a new mobility product with a partner of ours that we're super excited about. So we're pivoting in a number of different ways.
Awesome. Do you know Kelly Starrett?
Yeah, very well.
Cool. He's into the mobility. When I heard you say that, that's who I thought of. I want to delve into the power of relationships, and not just for leveraging them, but also just how they enhance life. Like you were mentioning, living it up in the moment. I want to know from you and your experience. You're like you're an alpha male. You're a guy who does things. You're a guy who doesn't really look back. You're a guy, and correct me, stop me if I'm wrong in any of this. You come across like a guy who's on a mission, and you're very kind, and obviously want to bring as many people with you as you can. But that said, did that ever pose any challenges to you in growing your business, in facilitating networking opportunities, relationship building? And if so, what did that look like? If you can think of anything that you're willing to share.
Well, yeah, I mean, well, here, I'll read
basically,
you this.
I guess I'm asking, I appreciate it. What I'm asking you basically is, did you ever have a moment where you're like, I don't have to jeopardize any bit of character of who I am, but I have to adjust in order to succeed in certain relational areas, you know?
Yeah, especially right now. I'll read you a quote that a friend of mine sent me. So I was telling him that I was having a tough time, with everything that's going on right now with COVID and letting people go and stuff like that. And he told me, he wrote me back this quote that not all bad people, just because you deliver bad news doesn't make you a bad person. And I think that's really interesting, because as the owner, you have to separate yourself from the business and say, hey, what's in the best interest of the business long term? We have a fiduciary responsibility to our members, our coaches, a variety of different people. And so for us, if people aren't working, we had to furlough some people who couldn't work. And just because you deliver bad news doesn't make you a bad person, something that I think about sometimes. And while doing so, you could also still have good ethics and morals. I think that there's a way to do business, and obviously I'm skewed here, but I don't think I've ever screwed anybody. I don't think I've ever done anything. I don't think anybody could say, hey, Jason Khalipa intentionally had ill intent. Now, have I let people go? Yeah. But I think there's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. I think we treat people right. We treat people the way we would want to be treated. And I think long-term you end up winning. And that's my same philosophy with members. I look at the way you treat members like playing blackjack at a casino. There's certain rules to blackjack. If you get this, you hit. If you don't, you won't. And 51% of the time, the house wins or you win or whatever, however it goes, right? But if you follow the rules, over time, you're supposed to win, right? Isn't that the way it goes in blackjack? I think that's the way it goes. Or the house wins.
The house wins, yeah.
Yeah, whatever works, right? But I look at it the same way in our business, that you create a set of rules and you say, hey, these rules over time are going to create trajectory, stability, and growth. There's at times where you always follow the rules, always. Every now and then when you get screwed by the rules, will a member take advantage of you because you don't have a good, your return policy is whatever. Yeah, but I think long-term you'll end up winning. And that's the way I look at business in general. Always treat people right, always do the right thing for the right reason. Every now and then you might get screwed, but in the long run, you'll end up winning.
What action steps would you say, would you recommend to take to facilitate connecting with great people along the journey? In other words, are you good at asking for help when you need it?
Yeah. I think I am. That was something early on that I probably wasn't as good at, but delegating, identifying what you're uniquely good at, and then delegating everything else, I think is really important, because then you can spend the time on things that you're uniquely good at.
What would you tell, I guess right now, what would you tell one of your coaches, right? One of your guys who wants to build a business. They're not really sure what it's going to be yet, but they are currently doing some training and they pivoted their training online. What would you say to that person through this time to really make the most of it? What would you recommend for them?
I'd say right now is a better time than any to establish what you're good at, create a plan, recognize that it's not a hobby, it's a business. How are you going to win, right? It's about winning. It's about creating trajectories so you could put food on the table for your kids. What are you going to do to put yourself in that position? And yeah, it's going to be hard work. I get that. But if you're working hard in the wrong direction, it's going to be tough. You need to work hard in a direction that's actually going to lend itself to the skills that you have at your disposal. And that's what I tell a trainer. I would say, hey, what are you uniquely good at? The trainer says, I'm really good at, connecting with people, or I'm really good at coaching. Okay, cool. Well, is a really good coach is a framework and a foundation to build off of. But now, can you identify someone that can help with marketing? You ask that same coach, are you good at financials? They're going to say no. Well, financials are a part of having a business. So you can't open one without having that at least check marked. It can't be your differentiator, but you at least need to check mark it. So identifying those things that build up a business thing are really important. And I wish I would have learned that earlier on. When I opened a business, I was just so about quality coaching, atmosphere, which did a lot for us. But long term, I could have saved a lot of money and done things better if we had delegated earlier.
So are you running a franchise at this point?
No,
No, it's not a franchise.
No, we own and operate all of our locations. And then with the NC Fit Collective, which is our session plans and program for gym owners, that's they're just utilizing tools that we give them.
Okay. Wow. That's
no
a lot.
Franchise, no license. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, because I'm trying to figure out, I guess like you mentioned fiduciary and stuff. So I was trying to figure out like the, I guess, model for revenue with that. Is it mostly membership?
So our corporate accounts are long-term contracts.
Okay.
Our brick and mortar locations are going to be monthly recurring revenue. And then our digital business is monthly recurring revenue as well. And then we have obviously e-commerce that builds up another vertical of our business.
Awesome. And do you bring in, I guess, you mentioned outsourcing, delegating where you're weak, like financial spots. Do you bring in, for even like the e-commerce side of it, do you have someone who just handles all of that and they take care of everything under e-commerce, including tax compliance, all that crap? Or is it that you guys outsource everything that you can? Like, what does that look like for you guys?
Yes. I mean, for example, we have a third-party logistics company. What that means is that they house all the inventory, they ship it all out. That's a good example of us delegating to them. Yeah, are we going to have a little bit lower margins? Sure. But then they're going to be able to take care of it instead of us shipping in-house. Now, over time, we've done back and forth here, but this is where we're at today. Back in the day, we had it in-house. It worked. Then we went out of house. We came back in the house, but that's what we're doing. But yeah, I mean, everything, there's certain things you could outsource, like accounting firms and things like that. It's fine. But we have an in-house CFO as well. So it just goes back and forth. And as you grow and scale, the demands change.
Awesome. Okay. I am curious because at some point I have an idea for brick and mortar thing, super weird. But basically I think solitude's it's almost a rare thing these days, solitude. Like finding space, just quiet. No one can reach you. Complete peace. Like it's rare that you even find that unless you go out in nature these days. I know for surfing is a good way to find that. Do you ever get out to surf in California?
A little bit, but yeah, I mean, we have a lot of outdoor stuff here in California, but
yeah.
I could probably spend more time in solitude. I don't spend much time there. I find my solitude in other ways.
What?
I mean, obviously working out is a very individual thing for me. It's very much like you're doing it. It's you against you. Jiu-jitsu is a really good example of that. You can find flow state and solitude through that. But as far as like pure quietness and meditation, that's just not something that I'm attracted to. I'd rather find that more flow state, like riding a bike for an hour in the mountains.
Love it. Let's switch gears now. I want to jump into the Heart Healthy Hustle rounds. Basically, I'm going to ask you a series of rapid fire questions, the crux of the show. Are you ready?
Yeah, all good.
Heart is the first category. What activity do you use? I think you just listed one. To care for and strengthen your internal character, Jason?
Exercise. I use working out. You could overcome adversity through it. I think if you want to get 5 reps, but you only get 3, you need to learn how to overcome that little challenge, and it can make you a better person.
I love it. Oh, man. For health, how do you maintain your physical health and avoid burning out with everything that's going on?
Reminding yourself of why you're working out in the first place. Yesterday I did a birthday workout for my daughter. Every year I add another round to it. So I came up with a workout every year that she's born. I add a round. So yesterday I did 9 rounds. it took me like 40 minutes. And by the time she's 30, I'll be doing 30 rounds. And that's my motivation to stay in good shape, is to never be able to not complete a task my children want to complete with me. So if my son wants to go bike, if my daughter wants to go hike, if anybody wants to go swim, I'm good. You never have to worry about fitness inhibiting my ability to go perform a daily task. That's my motivation.
That's awesome. Hustle, what's your main motivation? It's funny because you're answering these before I ask them, but
I mean, obviously the main motivation is to reach my potential and to provide for my family, and I'd say more than anything, just reach my potential in certain areas.
Would you say like one-on-one time with your kids is one of your whys that drives you?
Oh, of course. But also then providing for them for the future, providing for my wife, providing, you know, and it's not just financial. I'm talking about emotional, physical, everything. I mean, just trying to put them in the best position to be successful forever.
What's holding you back right now from the next, what's the next level? What's the huge goal that you're kind of like not sure you're going to hit?
Well, I mean, with COVID, there's a lot of uncertainty, but excitement at the same time. Right now, there's going to be some people that are going to come out of this and they're going to be winning hard. I mean, it's going to take a while, right? But if they built a good framework, if they have a good foundation, they're going to come out of this and there's going to be huge opportunities for them, huge. And I think right now it's just opening my eyes, opening my ears, staying controlled and looking for opportunities. And then once we seek one out, just going full force at it. And I don't know what that is right now. I have a few things in mind though. I think obviously digital business is big. We have an online presence, and that's going to be a piece of the puzzle.
Like e-commerce?
E-commerce, our online platform for workouts. Like I said, I think we're putting out the best in the business. And so, you know, I'd like to obviously get more people on that.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. What do you think's holding back most proactive individuals from like fully thriving and actually becoming the person that they are capable of becoming?
Probably fear of failure, right? You got to be okay to, you know, I mean, there's some graphic ways to describe this, but you got to kind of be okay to just kind of put it all out there. And, you know, that's why you got these people on keyboards that love to hate on people. And I'm very careful not to do that, because it takes a lot to put yourself on the line and go out there and compete, whether that's CrossFit Games, jiu-jitsu, basketball. Like, they're the ones who are putting themselves on the line, and there's failure and there's success. And there's a lot of people that aren't even prepared to put themselves out there to do that, like run a marathon, because they're afraid of failing. They come up with other excuses, but at the end of the day, it's because they're afraid of failing. And I think that we got to get past that.
What was your childhood like? Were you raised both parents? What was your situation?
Yeah, both parents. They're
Awesome.
still
In
together.
California?
In California.
Awesome.
I raced a lot of BMX bikes.
Oh, cool.
I did that for a long time. And then I found football, obviously, in high school. But, you know, the BMX racing definitely took part in who I am today, because it's you on a gate with 7 other people. And, you know, 3, 2, 1, go, the gate drops, and it's just, but it, you know, it just teaches you, it's like, it's you again. And I think team sports are very valuable, but I'm fortunate that I also did individual sports at a young age, because it taught you how to win, it taught you how to lose, and it taught you how to compete.
Yeah. And the BMX ramps you're talking about, a lot of times they're like really steep, right? To get that momentum with the kick.
Yeah.
I don't think people understand what that actually looks like.
No, it's BMX racing. So, I mean, you're on a track, and it's just, you're going. Yeah. It was a lot of fun while it lasted. I learned a lot about it. I learned a lot from it, but I think there's other sports you could probably learn just as much, if not more, from, that are a little less dangerous, but that's a side.
Right on. Do you still bike?
I mountain bike quite often. Where I live, there's quite a few trails, but I haven't been on a BMX in years and years and years.
Gotcha. What kind of bike do you have?
A Specialized S-Works 6 Fatty. It's a lot of fun.
Nice. Yeah, Specialized is a wonderful bike. Wow. Want to jump into a couple influential books, if you have any. What's your 3 most influential, and why? Even if you can just think of one off the top of your head.
Obviously, like I said, I'm going to be partial. As Many Reps as Possible by me, I think is a good book, of course. I thought David Goggins' book was really powerful. Can't Hurt Me.
Yeah. Okay.
That was a really valuable book. I think Mark Cuban's Sport of Business is very valuable as well. I like that book. I like Chop Wood, Carry Water was this book I read a little bit ago. It's very basic in nature, but it has some good fundamental principles to it.
Chop Wood, Carry Water?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's that simple. Chop wood, carry water, Can't Hurt Me, and then obviously as many reps as possible, of course.
That would put that one on the top.
Yeah.
Awesome. With project management, do you guys you have a favorite software tool, or what do you guys, whatever you can think of, what's one of your favorite tools? Like Google Calendar, I get a lot from people.
Yeah. I mean, the whole team is like way ahead of me. They use, so I use Google a lot, but we also use this one called Slack.
Yeah.
Slack, Trello, and Google.
Nice. Yeah. Slack's fantastic. All right. Awesome. Well, and just in conclusion of the show, Jason, I'd love to take people on a little bit of a journey. So if you would go with me, I'm going to put you in a place of hopefully reflection. This is back in maybe your early or mid 20s. If you can think back to what's your age now?
34.
34. Okay. Thinking back to early 20s, then you're sitting on a park bench overlooking some water. Maybe you're in California and you're in a dark spot. Stuff's not going the way you want it to. Not sure what's going to happen in 10 years from now. You know it's all going to work out, but you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what that's going to look like. What would you say? You can go up present day. You can go up to him, put your arm around your own shoulder and say anything. What would you say?
Oh, man.
Take your time.
I would probably say you're thinking and doing exactly what you should be thinking and doing. Something on those lines. Like, because everything that I thought, everything that I do led me to where we're at today. And we're happy. And I think that through that journey, that self-reflection, that self-evaluation on a regular basis, am I doing this well? Am I doing that well? That's how you grow and evolve. And so if I was worried or stressed out or whatever, I was probably doing exactly what I should have been doing.
Something you shared with Tim Ferriss on that interview with him, which I found stood out to me for some reason, was the report card. I don't know if it was somebody you knew, but you mentioned there was a gentleman who traveled a lot for business, doing a lot of deals with like signing up manufacturers in China and stuff. So he's out of town a lot, and he was graded on categories. So he'd be graded on a category of provider, provider, lover, all different categories of his life. And I think he was exchanging those with his spouse.
Yeah. Sorry, keep going. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So I was curious to know, are you doing something that broken down? Are you, because, managing a hustle and bustle business where you're forced literally to pivot, like in heavy pivots when things like this happen, with the breakout, how specific are you getting with these self-evaluations and things? How detailed?
Not super detailed. Like you don't need to go write it down. I think it's just something that's in your heart, in your head, and you're the one that has to live with it. The reality of the situation is you need to constantly be reflecting and evaluating in a variety of different areas in your life, so you don't wake up one day and start freaking out. The last thing I want to do is when I'm 40, look back and be like, dude, I was a really crappy dad.
Oh, that's powerful stuff. Yeah, because at the end of the day, that's really pretty much what this is for. I mean, it's what matters the most, And
that's it. Or whatever it is for you, right? But at least you don't wake up, 10 years later and be like, dude, I didn't do anything that I wanted to accomplish. Are you leading towards those goals, right? You set yourself some goals, whatever they are. And then on a micro basis, you just check in. And it's not a big deal. If you have a mishap here and there, it's not a big deal. You just got to keep going forward.
Absolutely. That said, I wanted to ask you, what's your, what was I going to ask you? I'm sorry. The speed of execution. Speaking of speed, what are you, What do you have to say to what you just shared about, there's only so much time that you should be spending on these evaluations, although they're so important. Um, I think it's pretty innate in you, perhaps, that you're so focused and driven. And all right, let's go. I went over it, on to the next thing. Got to keep moving. With these evaluations, you say you don't have to stop and write it down. I think a lot of people fall into this trap, and it's becoming this thing where you got I think it's fine, figure out who hurt you in the past and move forward, grow from it. But don't there's only so much time until that becomes raging narcissism, where you're just watching all the Brene Brown videos and thinking about why you're not a better person. And then you're 5 years later, you know what I mean?
That's it.
It's like, what would you say to somebody who is maybe not even aware that they're in that vicious cycle of just over analyzing? What would you share with them? Like, they're ready to go. They can just do it now. Like, they need to take action and execute now and stop waiting.
Well, I mean, there's never going to be a perfect time for anything, especially in business. Yeah. And, you could always move forward and then you learn from it. And I really do believe in that. And I think that the worst thing you can do is just be doing things out of fear, because you're fearful not to open a business because you think it might not be successful. Well, if your ducks in a row and you really feel good about it, go do it. Worst case scenario, if you're 40 years old, or if you're 20 years old, if you're 30 years old and you want to shift your career, worst case scenario, you shift it for 2 years and you go back to it for another 30 or 40. You'll be fine, right? You could always shift and pivot back. There's obviously some caveats to that, but for the most part, you can learn a lot from the mistakes you make. We've done most of the things that we've learned from have came from like massive mistakes you'll always learn from that, right? The first time you get sued, you'll never make that mistake again. You know what I mean? Like, never. And then, the first time that you have a location that fails, you'll never make that mistake again. The first time that an employee leaves you and you really like that person, you'll never make the mistake again of what that was, right? These are learning experiences moving forward.
Do you think it's more advantageous to, how do you save the most time in that process? Do you seek out mentors who have done it before and get the information from them? Or do you think it's faster even to learn it all by doing it yourself and making those mistakes yourself?
I think you meet with some mentors, you get some ideas, you clearly communicate the plan, you set up a guidelines on how long you want to discuss this for. After you discuss it, if you still think it's a good idea, you go out there, you do it. And if you're going to fail, just fail really fast. Don't just keep dragging it on.
And the amazing thing is too, I love that, because the amazing thing is when you do something, you realize it wasn't that big of a deal at all. And you see, like, you've got 100x competition that did it 5 years before you did it, and you should have just done it, and it doesn't matter. So that's the thing. I mean, it matters to you and your development, but in the marketplace, you're late.
Yeah. It's all good, especially in business, especially right now. Pick a direction, understand why you're going there, understand why you're going to win, and go out and do it.
Boom. What do you think your 10-year, where do you see yourself in 10 years, Jason?
Hopefully with a happy and healthy family, and, a business that, we feel like we said, is getting to starting to crest that peak potential, right? Because I'll be 44, starting to kind of really find out who I am. And, you think you know who you are in your 30s, and then you think you know who you are in your 20s, and then you get your 30s. And I think by the time you're like 40s, you really start to understand who you are, where you're going. So that's what I'm hoping for.
It seems like you're on track to a really powerful decade in your 40s. Not anywhere near it either. So, hey.
I know.
That's cool, man. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, it's been a great interview. Do you have any questions before we go? Anything else you wanted to share?
No, I would just say, hey, look, if people have been, struggling to get on a fitness path, start off with just a 10-minute walk. Start there. Start building this earned confidence. Don't make it a bigger deal than it needs to. Just start off slow. Work your way up. You'll be fine.
Love it. Can I just do like a 10-minute walk, right? Moving from there.
That's it. You want to get wins. Get wins.
You don't expect to hear that from Jason Khalipa, but you just did.
Yeah. 10-minute walk is a win. That's it. And then tomorrow, do 10 minutes again. You know what I mean? That's it. Stay consistent.
That's great. I cannot believe I haven't asked you anything about health and fitness, being everyone stuck inside. Anything else you'd share with people?
No, the secret is consistency. So you're not going to do anything for yourself. You go out there and do 20 minutes of burpees tomorrow and then don't do it again. You just start off super slow, start off with a 10-minute walk, start off with a 10-minute whatever, and then gradually start earning the confidence, because every week you've been doing it now, right? Can't tell you how many people get in this trap where they're going to do crazy for a week, eat well, not drink, and the next week they just go right back. Just start off super basic. That's it.
Awesome.
Cool.
Well, Jason, share with us how we can support you, where we can follow you, and see fit after the show.
Yeah. I mean, I'd really appreciate it if you go to Jason Khalipa on Instagram, if you go to jasonkhalipa.com, if you go to nc.fit, that's it, and check out our online programs. I think we have a lot to offer, and would love for you to check it out.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to put all that in the show notes. You got NC Fit, you got NC Fit Collective, you got your Instagram as well. Those are pretty good place to start. You're most active on Instagram, right?
Yeah, NC Fit Plus is good.
Okay.
And my YouTube, NC Fit Plus is a lot of workouts for those people who want them.
What are some of the things to see on your YouTube channel?
A lot of workout videos, some follow along videos that are really helpful, and some educational stuff if you're interested in that.
Got it. And I want to ask you this before we go. With the with your history in CrossFit, how much of the work involved with that performance, that level of performance, is maintenance on or just like mobility work and addressing tie downs and fascia issues and muscular pain? Like, how much of it is that? Is that like a ratio there, or is it pretty much just go hard when you're in there?
Nowadays, it's probably a percentage for especially the top athletes.
What is it?
Like it's a percentage. I don't know what percentage it is, but
okay.
For 99% of people, 99% of the time, you just need to get moving and use movement as a screening to see where your issues are. And then from there, maybe get on a foam roller, lacrosse ball, whatever. But to think that all you could do is foam roll for an hour and that's going to get you in peak physical fitness is misleading. You need to lean into discomfort, lean into what's hard, and then that's how you get in a lot better shape.
Okay. Well, I actually meant specifically for you in your history with CrossFit.
I should have done a lot more. But I'd say out of let's just say 3 hours of training, maybe 10 minutes was specific to mobility and deep tissue work. And the rest was, I'd get probably deep tissue massage once a week. The bulk of it, I'd say 90% was hard training.
Okay. Gotcha. 90% was hard. 10% was other stuff.
Yeah.
Recuperation. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and end the interview there. You absolutely rocked it. Thank you so much for spending some time with me and my audience today. I can't wait to release this, man. It's going to be good.
Of course.
I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, be sure to hit the subscribe button down below. If you are watching this on YouTube, fantastic. Appreciate that for the YouTube algorithm. Otherwise, no one knows that this episode exists. And that would be a real shame, because Jason and I just spent our time basically serving you, the audience, to give you some insight into the mind of a great athlete, one of the best in the world. In 2008, he was crowned CrossFit Games world champion. So this is a man who has then taken that, and now he's playing the game of fitness and business. And he's incorporated, he's been able to do that in the world of fitness as well. So it's a very impressive story. It's very exciting. There's a lot more where that came from. He has an amazing podcast as well. It's called The Business of Fitness. He has an AMRAP mentality podcast with a lot of episodes from the past that he has done, and they're still out there and able to be listened to. Don't want to miss those, so go and check those out as well after this. Again, appreciate you listening, and until next time, live wide open.